About 6 months ago, I started my game dev journey, diving headfirst into making my first game Forgotten in Unity. Here's how it went. In January of this year, it all started for me. At the end of 2023, I've been watching loads of devlogs by popular creators, and I remember feeling so interested in the world of game development and inspired by their work. So, when the new year began, I thought I'd give it a shot. I was kind of looking for a more productive and fulfilling hobby than just playing games all the time, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. After watching a couple small guides, I thought I was ready. So I opened up Unity and started to get to work on my first project. This is when I discovered that game development is not for the weak. Every time I would implement a new feature, it would mess up other features. My code never really seemed to do what it wanted, and my art looked questionable to say the least. But after a lot of trial and error, I managed to make a working little character, which ended up defining the art style for my game and creating some basic features like movement. This was a big step for me, and I wanted to share it with people. So, thinking back on how devlogs inspired me, I decided to make a channel of my own. This is when I uploaded my first ever video, which, looking back, wasn't the greatest.
Hello everyone, I'm guessing you're on.
But it somehow did pretty well. After some thought and some helpful comments and videos, I realized that the work that I'd done was not really up to standard and needed to be better than it was before, which taught me a really important lesson about game design. Do not be afraid to reiterate. In essence, don't be afraid to throw your hard work away in order to improve upon it. This was frustrating at first because oftentimes we want to skip along to the end part and just make something good and be done with it. Sadly, this is not how creative processes work, so it's something I've accepted and am now much more comfortable with. How I put this in practice is I completely threw my old movement system away to make place for a new one. If I hadn't done that, my game would still be looking like this. So after that, I made my second video, which did okay, a little worse than the last one, but I was determined to keep going and keep putting content out. So I wanted to make something quickly, new, and exciting, so I could attract lots of viewers. I decided on making a combat devlog. So after watching countless tutorials and a lot of late nights, I got it done pretty quickly. I was also putting a lot more thought and effort into my videos and did more work on things like script writing, editing, and making thumbnails. After all that effort, I put the video out, hoping it would be the start of the rise of my YouTube channel. And it did pretty well. I was completely blown away by all the views and amazing support. Somehow the algorithm picked my video up and people were clicking on it. I got very hyped and excited and wanted to follow up this great success with another video. And I wanted to keep improving my game. The logical successor to the combat video was a video about enemies and enemy types. I started thinking of clever titles and other ways I could make content more appealing to everyone. So I started watching even more tutorials using tools like ChatGPT and help forums to create all these complicated features as quickly as possible. And I kept pushing and somehow managed to put the video out near the end of the month. I was very excited about the game and the features, and I was expecting the video to do really well. After all, in my mind, this was my best work, so what could go wrong? So I don't want to say the video bombed or anything, since the views were still more than twice my subscriber count at that point, but with the previous video doing so well, I was very disappointed. This was kind of a turning point for me in my journey. I was feeling tired of developing games and had lost motivation and passion for making the game. I'd lost the excitement and interest I had at the start of making the game, and I doubted if it was worth all the effort. I'd been rushing out features which weren't really finished to make an interesting video about it, and kept on moving on to the next and the next and the next. It needed to be bigger, more interesting, more click-worthy, and it needed to be done quickly. I wasn't really creating my own game anymore. I was just copying code or using the code AI generated for me. And while there is nothing wrong with these tools, especially when starting out, I was on the wrong trajectory. Sometimes I thought to myself the video bombing was just a fluke. Another more clickbaity title would get more views. So I dived headfirst into rushing development again and decided to create my first level in a week. I just threw a bunch of features together, made some art and rushed out the level. Well, I was not really giving it much thought in the greater scope of the game I wanted to make. I spent lots of hours editing and making this level exciting, hoping this would get my channel back on the right track. And well, it was my worst performing video of all time, only getting about 20 something views, which left me wondering, where did I go wrong? At this point I was feeling burnt out and decided to take a step back from the project. In April I didn't even want to think about game development. I didn't even enjoy devlogs from other creators anymore, which was sad because that's where it all started. So everything was going downhill until I started reflecting on my journey. I realized I wasn't really learning or creating anything anymore, which are two of the biggest reasons why I started and love developing games. I was just copying features without much thought behind it, then making a video about it and hoping for the best. Rushing out features which are necessary for a vision of a game can make you feel lost and unsatisfied in the process. With these new insights, I decided to take a step back for a while and slowly let the motivation come back again. And luckily it did. Near the end of April I slowly started adding things to the game, but not in the way it did before. I was putting in more thought on how features would fit the original idea and scope of the game and which purpose they served. I also started thinking more about how to tweak them in order to make my game more original and stand out. The level I made was a good baseline, but there wasn't a lot to do. It felt empty while I wanted the game to feel alive. I wanted to make the game fun. So the first thing I did was make NPCs you can talk to. They can tell you stories, give you clues about items, treasures, or even give you quests. This was the second thing I added. NPCs and other quest stations can now give you quests to complete, rewarding you with either XP or coins. So there's finally something to do in this game world. Playing the game myself now was a lot more fun, but I realized something big was missing. Sounds. So I made a simple sound system and started adding sounds to movement, NPCs, combat, etc. I also selected some tracks as the background. Actually starting to feel like a real game now, and more importantly, I was enjoying making games again. When this motivation came back, the motivation to make videos also came back. So I started writing a script, recording clips, and well, here we are. We're fully caught up with the present and to where we are at the time of making this video. I thought it was really cool to look back on where the game started, where I succeeded, where I failed, and how my views and attitude toward making games and videos has changed. I hope I'm on the right track now and can continue to create interesting content that I also enjoy making. The struggles I talked about in this video are also why I took a step back from uploading videos. Good news is I'm back, but not in the same way. I don't want to rush my process anymore. This might mean less views and less videos, but I'd rather be in it for the long haul and keep it sustainable. I want to thank everyone who has helped me in this journey through watching content, leaving comments, helping me with questions on Discord or Reddit, or subscribing to the channel. It's all really appreciated, and I hope this game gets out to everyone who's interested. If you want to see more details on how I created this game and its features, be sure to take a look around the channel, where you'll find videos on each subject. And if you find this video interesting or my journey somewhat interesting, consider subscribing to the channel. I can use all the support I can get. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!